Sewing darts give a three-dimensional shape to your clothing and bag sewing projects.
When you go to sew a dart, it could be marked in a couple different ways. It might be marked with tailor's tacks, which are thread loops or markings that you can see on each side of the fabric, or you may have marked with tracing wheel and tracing paper. Like you can see the blue dots. You can see those up close a little bit more. Okay. And what you need to do when you're stitching a dart, you're basically bringing the point of the dart together. So you want to, from the wrong side of the fabric, you want to go ahead and fold that right at the tip of the dart. And you also want to line up the edges of the dart for where you're going to start. So I would fold my fabric in half, stick a pin in the marked line, make sure it's coming out on the marking on the back side, and if it is, I will go ahead and put my pin in there to hold that in place, and I would check in the center of my tailor's tack, see if it comes out the center of my tailor's tack there. It does as well. So again, I'll put my pin there. What we're going to do is we're going to stitch from the wide end of the dart to the narrow end. You backstitch at the wide end, you never backstitch at the point end. We're going to leave a tail of thread and tie knots instead to reduce the amount of bulk. So here we would, actually we're going to be stitching from this side, so I probably would want to flip my pins to the side that I can see them, take them out when I get to them. And once again, I'm going to start my dart at the wide end, and I can backstitch. So get my needle lined up, go ahead and take my first pin out. Okay, I'm just going to pull this tailor's tack because I do have this marked in tracing wheel with tracing paper. I'm going to go ahead and stitch a couple of stitches forward, then backstitch to the edge of my fabric. Then I go forward, and I am stitching on that angled line. When I get to my pin, again with my needle down in, so see how my fabric shifted around? Since that needle was in, it couldn't go anywhere. It's staying exactly where I need it. I just have to realign it before I put the crosser foot back down. And I'm going to aim to stitch off at the very edge of that dart. I want a nice gradual coming to a point and stitching off the edge. I don't want to go abruptly jump off the fabric. When I get to the end, I go ahead and pull this out and I cut a nice long tail. Okay, I can go ahead and trim my threads off the end where I backstitched. And now I need to separate these threads. Sometimes they're twisted together, so it's easiest to kind of grab them with a point of a pin so you can separate them. And I'm going to tie this off into about 3 or 4 knots, just crisscrossing and tying down to the surface. It's 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so if I hold this up, you can see my knots are there. I'm going to trim my threads not close to the knots because those could easily come out. I'm going to trim them with about a 1/2 inch tail. So I'm going to cut threads right there, and that is what my dart looks like. Okay, from the stitch side, if I had tailor's tacks in, I could go ahead and remove those by pulling them. And then if we open it up to the inside, we would press the dart over to one side, and you would be able to see how we have our dart on the back side of that fabric. And that would give some shape to the garment. Okay, towards a waist, possibly at a bust line area. Okay, but that is what the dart looks like from the back side.